What is up, YouTube? What is up, Canada? Matt McKeever here. And in today's video, I'm going to be chatting with you guys about 3D printed houses. We're going to talk about the potential impact 3D printed houses could have on real estate, what we need to be aware of as a real estate investor. And we'll touch upon, is this the end of the real estate bubble as we know it? Or is it maybe a little bit earlier than we think when it comes to 3D printed houses? I'd love to get your thoughts, your opinions. Let us know in the comment section. Have you been paying attention to anything that's going on with 3D printers, and particularly how it relates to potentially building houses? Now, this is obviously a bigger subject matter than just talking about 3D printed houses, but what originally got me on this train of thought, even to begin with, was just yesterday, my buddy Mike Rosehart tagged me on a 3D printed house. So I thought I'd bring, oh no, this is a Lego house, right? But no, I actually think 3D printed houses are awesome. And I think there's a lot of potential in the future for them. And so what Mike was actually tagging me on was this. So a fully 3D printed concrete house built for half the cost of any other house. This is going to change the real estate industry. Who wants to invest in concrete? I thought this would actually be a great opportunity to talk about this subject matter, because I feel like, honestly, every year there's a story that comes out about potentially 3D printed houses and the impact it could have on the real estate industry. And it absolutely has the potential to have massive impact. However, I, as a real estate investor, am not immediately panicking because of 3D printed houses. And we'll get into that subject matter in a little bit. But let's first dive a little bit deeper into what this story specifically is all about. So this is the first legally printed 3D printed house in the USA with SQ4D. Now, I didn't actually do any fact checking on this, so I just assume this is true. But I think I also stumbled upon a Fox Business News video that also hit upon this. So again, just kind of taking a look at that 3D printed house here. Fox News being Fox Newsy about it. And then the actual YouTube video, I think I've got up here. So this is from Charles Weinraub. And I think he goes as, what was it? The handsome house buyer or something like that. So he's kind of walking us through everything going on here in this YouTube video. Really encourage you guys to go over and check it out. If you like what he's doing, I got a pro tip here, watch it, because I know some of you at home are really scared by it. But if you like someone's content, you can go here and watch. I'm not even going to get charged a penny right now. I'm going to hit the subscribe button. I'll get out of the way so you guys can even see it too. Boom. See that? I just hit subscribe. Didn't cost me a penny. Like, I didn't lose all my Bitcoin or anything. It literally was completely free, guys. And guess what? As a content creator, he probably even appreciates the fact that I smashed the like button for him. So really want to encourage you guys, support those small content creators. He's got like 2,500, and he seems to have done a great video here. So essentially, he's kind of walking us through it. I didn't watch the entire video, but I think he was really just doing a house tour. So I'm not sure if he was actually involved in the project or whether he was just kind of touring it for us. But either way, it does a great tour. And it's really cool. You can kind of see the seams here, right, on the 3D printing. So if I scroll back just a hair in this video, let's play it. And so essentially, it's just kind of giving us a house tour. On the surface, it looks like a pretty normal house to me. I definitely don't see anything that would give me cause or concern if I was potentially looking at it. And then there's actually a couple clips here of the house being built. So this is going to come up in a second. So boom, there's the machine printing that concrete. And if I remember correctly, what's kind of unique about this is the fact that this machine in particular can do right angles. So I think other 3D printers in the past, some for construction purposes, weren't able to do these. Boom, look at that right angle right there. And so anyways, I think that's one of the unique or novel things about this particular solution. So again, really cool to see that. You can see he's just kind of running his hands over the seams there, and you can see layer by layer what's going on. Really cool process. I definitely see potential in the future in regards to 3D printed houses and what how that could create more affordable housing, right? Because obviously when we're looking at the cost of housing, it's skyrocketed here in Canada. It's skyrocketed really across North America. And big aspect of that is the input cost, right? It is the labor cost. It is the materials cost. And this appears to be a much more affordable way. And, as we continue to get more and more effective scales of efficiency, you can see also 50-year warranty. That seems very enticing on the surface. Again, a lot of the houses that were built here in London 100 years ago are also standing. So I think most houses, definitely in Canada, are built to last. But what I actually really want to talk about when it comes to this concept of 3D houses is understand that the technology side of the thing is really just half the equation. The other half is the government and regulators, and understanding that those government and regulators, you know, the reason real estate's so expensive isn't just those input costs. That's just half the equation. The other aspect of why real estate's so expensive is going to come down to the fact that land is really expensive. And the reason land is expensive is, yeah, like my dad used to say, they're not making any more of it, but at the same time, there's actually a lot of it here in Canada. In fact, we've got a crazy ratio of land to people. And yet what actually holds us back from being able to just go, build all the houses is the fact that we've got certain zoning restrictions, right? So you can only build in like certain municipalities in certain areas. Oftentimes you need the city to have annexed that land in order to be able to do a development, right? And understand when we're talking about these systems, these environments, none of them exist in a bubble. All of them have a lot of different stakeholders that are really have strong motivations to want to make sure that the current system continues. And so a few things that I could envision in the future, and this may sound crazy or stupid to you guys at the start, but understand I imagine that regulators will be handicapping 3D printing of houses, at least for the foreseeable future, just because, again, we're usually slow when we look at regulators and governments to adopt new practices, new industries, innovation, things of that nature. So what are some like crazy rules or regulations that I potentially could imagine the government coming out to try and muck around in this? Well, again, one of the first obvious ones is any restrictions on 3D printed houses, or potentially we could see like surcharges or taxes. So you could see direct surcharges or taxes, such as like, hey, because there's less labor inputted, we're going to charge you 20% more on either when you sell a 3D printed house or when you get your permits or when you do this, that, and the other. You could also see like taxes on, say, all 3D printed houses or a lot of the popular models are going to be printed with concrete. Well, you could see them then putting taxes on concrete, right? But in general, what I think we're going to see is just a lot of municipalities slow to adopt and change their building bylaws. And those building bylaws were often initially intended for a long time ago, right? And they don't necessarily update them too often. And I could see it being kind of a region by region battle to really get this mass adopted. And again, it's primarily just going to come down to all the different stakeholders involved in this process and their desire to protect their interest, right? If you're a land developer, if you're a home builder, if you're in the construction industry, if you potentially stand to lose because of 3D printed houses, you're naturally going to want to protect your industry. You're going to want to protect your business. And so I think we'll see a lot of individuals fighting against 3D printed houses. We'll probably see a lot of claims that, whatever, they're not as safe as you expect, or they're not as cheap as you actually expect, or they don't last as long as you expect, or whatever random straw man argument they may decide to make. I do see that being probably a common theme for the next couple of years until we start to see this get adopted. But again, even if, let's say, municipalities greenlight 3D printed houses, I don't think that we're necessarily going to see a huge drop in the cost of housing. Because again, are we going to be able to magically print a ton of houses overnight? Because if we're not, we're still going to have the same basic demand and supply issues that we're currently going through, right? I've recently been sharing, and last night we did a special on Clubhouse. If you guys aren't following me, if you're not one of my 21 followers on Clubhouse, you're missing out. You should be following me. But we were discussing all the different stats and data around what's going on here in the Ontario real estate market. Here in London, they haven't released all the data for the month of February, but we do have some of the data. And that data shows us that we've got 0.6 months worth of inventory right now here in London, Ontario. That's down from a 10-year low of 0.8 months last month. So again, we're actually still seeing demand outstripping supply, even though the total number of listings are increasing, because the total number of purchases are still increasing at a greater rate than the number of new listings coming on the market. And so until we really start to see a dramatic shift in that, the underlying economics aren't going to change when it comes to Canadian real estate. We're going to continue to see pressure on prices to go up, and we're probably going to continue to see it be a seller's market just based upon all the fundamentals going on. Now, again, in general, I'd love to see more innovation. I'd love to see more housing. I'd love to see 3D printed houses. I think it will take a lot longer for this to get rolled out in a big way and have any sort of real impact on affordability. And again, that's assuming that we don't have government regulators mucking and messing everything up. And then the other aspect is when you've got cities like Toronto with giant green belts. I'm not saying green belts are good or bad, but understand when you've got giant green belts, that's going to restrict the land available to be able to build upon. Again, these 3D printed houses, they still need land to be printed upon, and they still need the city, the government's permission to print those houses on that land. So that still could be a restrictive factor. And then this, again, sound silly, but like, are building inspectors ready, or will they need to be taught and learn how to inspect 3D printed houses? Will there have to be a whole new process? Will whole new governing bodies have to be created? Just think about all the new bureaucracy that might have to be created around this new innovative product. Again, it can take a long time for all those different regulatory bodies and oversight committees and this, that, and the other. It takes a lot of time to print that red tape, I guess is what I'm saying. And I can see it taking a while for them to get all their red tape printed so that they can appropriately restrict the rollout of 3D printing. And now this isn't to say that there's some master plan or some governing body that's doing this. This is just all kinds of tiny little bureaucrats all trying to protect their individual little fiefdoms in the government or in whatever little agency they're a part of. So that's my general thoughts. That's my little synopsis. I think 3D printing is really cool. I look forward to it. I'd have no issues living in a 3D printed house. However, I think it's going to be a while before we see any real impacts when it comes to real estate investing or the general availability or the inventory of available housing here in Canada. Love to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Are you guys deep into this? And what are the plays? If you are bullish on 3D printing of houses in particular, where should we be looking? What are the stocks? Is it going after concrete companies like my buddy Mike Rosehart was saying, or is there different plays that we should be looking at? Are there currently any builders that appear to be embracing this innovation, or are we seeing a lot of the entrenched incumbents just holding on to their existing monopolies and not embracing any sort of innovation? Not an area I pay a lot of attention to, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and what your anecdotal experiences are in that comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new to my channel. Let me know what you think about 3D printing and give me some suggestions for tomorrow's video because we'll be live again around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next